So I have a special treat for you. I have Lucas Hall. He works with Cozy, and I wanted to bring him on because I want him to show you firsthand what Cozy's like. So, hey, Lucas, thanks for being here with me.
Hey, Dustin, thanks for having me. Again, this is great.
Yeah, man, I'm so excited to have you here sharing it with us what Cozy's all about. Now, I've used Cozy for about a year, and I truly love using the platform, especially that it's free. It's completely for me as a landlord. It's free, and I just am blown away at the service that I get, as well as the quality that I get for not even having to pay. And so that's just blows my mind that you guys are able to do this. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Lucas.
Sure. So my name is Lucas Hall. I'm a landlord and I have 5 properties in 3 states, but I'm also kind of a tech nerd. So I like technology. I've always enjoyed it. And a long time ago, I started a website called Landlordology.com. And that website was just there, much like your site, just to teach people how to be better, more efficient. You do a much better job than I ever did with your course and everything. And I just think that, you're doing a great job. So kudos to you. But here at Cozy, Cozy actually acquired my asset, the website, and me at Landlordology to continue to build up, the industry and help them actually learn how to be more ethical, more profitable, and build a portfolio that you can retire on. So that's what I'm doing. I've been with Cozy for about 4 years, and we build software for landlords. And so it's a tool that I use myself to manage my properties that from about 2,000 miles away, and it makes it super easy.
So that's great. I remember because I had you on my podcast where I interviewed you, and you talk about how you currently live in Denver, Colorado, and you invest in Washington, D.C., and you use Cozy to manage your properties and have people pay, your tenants pay, and do background checks and screen your tenants and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, I've been using it for 4 years now, and I've not paid a dime in 4 years.
Well, that's great. So tell us a little bit about Cozy. What can it do? I know we're going to walk through it, and so everybody watching, you're going to be able to see that, but tell us a little bit about what it does.
I've got some visual cues. So if you don't mind, I'll just pull those up as well. So
let's do it.
Here we go. And thank you everyone for watching. I'm so excited to be in front of you and to show you a little bit about this tool that has really changed my life and changed my business. And I get to help build it. So, it's kind of neat because I get to eat my own dog food, as they say. But let me tell you a little bit about Cozy. So Cozy is software for landlords. It's accessible on your computer or any mobile device. And so you can access and run your business completely from your phone. In addition to that, we do a couple core things. And so our core services are at the top there. And essentially, it's marketing for your property. You can list your property and find tenants for it. And then you can screen those tenants with background checks and applications and credit reports. And then when you find somebody you like, you can actually roll those into online rent payments, like what Dustin was saying, which is just so amazing. It just works really well. And I have tenants who love paying rent through Cozy. I mean, how many times do you actually hear a tenant say that they like paying rent? But they actually do, because we do it in such a seamless, beautiful way that they don't have to think about it or worry about it. But in addition to that, you can track your rental expenses or rental property expenses, like a new roof or a fridge or new carpet or whatever you have inside Cozy, and we'll help you export that to a beautiful report that you can give to your accountant or for you when you're doing your own taxes. You can track maintenance requests that get submitted through Cozy, which include videos and pictures that a tenant can upload. And then you can also share documents with them, like leases and move-in checklists and anything else that you want to share with your tenant. We also do renter's insurance, which is amazingly simple for your renters to get. And then it also helps them helps you track whether or not they actually have an active policy. And then we continue to educate you as a landlord and help you along the way. And that's something that Dustin does. That's something that we try to do through tools and resources that we have, just to help you succeed along your journey. But the best part is that it is 100% free. So as Dustin mentioned, it is truly, truly free. I mean, there's no catches. And we do make money. Don't be fooled. We are a profitable company. We make money on the credit report and background check that you might get from a tenant. So if you want that when you're screening somebody, they will pay for that when they're applying.
Hey, Lucas, I'm going to jump in right there.
Yeah,
so
sure.
Everybody watching this, And I'm going to stress this over and over again. And you've seen in my other videos that I stress this absolutely 100%. Always do a background check on every single tenant that you are potentially going to be putting in your property, because you might get a tenant that looks great on paper, but in reality, and their credit and the background check shows what reality actually is, they might be a horrible tenant. I'll give you a quick example. So I had a tenant who, well, a possible tenant. She applied. On paper, she looked fantastic. Like, she looked great, great job, great income, rental history, and all that sort of stuff. Well, I ran a background check on her, and it turns out she was evicted 4 times in the last 3 years.
Wow.
And so I didn't want to be the fifth, so I definitely passed on that. But if I didn't, because I have placed tenants and not done background checks. I learned the hard way that it costs a lot of money. So just having a background check in general is something that you must do. But here's a great thing with Cozy: the tenants pay for that when they apply. They pay for that background check, so it's nothing out of your pocket too. So definitely always do background checks.
Yeah, and to add to that, with the background check, I actually really enjoy the fact that they pay for it. Not only because it's it saves me money, but it's kind of like a weeder. Like it gets rid of the tire kickers, the people who think, oh, I don't want to pay $40 or $25, depending on what you're getting, for a background check or a credit report. But it's like, well, you're going to have to pay me like $1,200 next month for rent. So like, if you're arguing over $39, you're probably not going to pay your rent either.
Absolutely.
And so it's a way to get rid of the ones that don't really perform. So Cozy's been around, as I mentioned, since about 2012. We originally got our seed money to get started from Google Ventures, but then went on and got some of the best investors on the planet to help raise capital so we could become a profitable company, but including Tim Ferriss, who wrote the 4-Hour Workweek, Stuart Butterfield, who founded Flickr and Slack, and then Gary Vaynerchuk, who's just a marketing genius. A lot of people know who he is. And so these guys are all on our list of angel investors, and they have some capital inside Cozy to make sure that we succeed. But you're not alone. So Cozy is widely used. So right now we have about 300,000 independent landlords in every state, county, and city in the United States that use Cozy to manage their own properties. And we have about 800,000 residents or tenants using Cozy to pay rent and apply to places. And it's just catching on really quickly. So currently we process about $2 billion in rent every year. So that's a lot of money. And that's something we take very seriously. So at our core, we are not a bank, but we do look at ourselves as kind of a financial services company, because we're processing that much money, and we've invested significant funds into fraud prevention and security and encryption to make sure that everything works exactly the way it would be. It's your rent. You should get it on time and quickly. And the best part is we're growing incredibly fast. So we are currently growing at about 12,000 new landlords a month, and about 35,000 new tenants are signing up for Cozy to manage their properties. And this picture, I just love this picture. This is what it looks like for me to collect rent. So it's Sunday morning. I'm like sitting in my casual clothes on my computer, just, looking at Amazon, and then my phone goes off and it's like, ding, like, hey, congratulations, your rent is being deposited. Like that's what it feels like for me as a passive, self-managing landlord it's really passive, because I'm hardly doing anything for my rental properties. Whereas some people track down the rent every month and they have to chase their tenants down, but I literally don't have to leave my house, which is awesome. All right. So that is Cozy in a nutshell. Let's dive in. Dustin, do you want me to give a quick demo of the product?
Yeah, that would be great, because I know I'm fairly tech savvy, and there's some people that are part of our course that aren't. And so it would be great if you could walk them through how to set it up, how to get your tenants in there, how to enter your properties, and all that great stuff that Cozy can do.
Sure. Yeah, I'd be happy to. Okay, so the first step is to go to cozy.co. It's cozy.co. And in fact, what I'd request that you do is use Dustin's link here, just so we can track it. It's cozy.co/Dustin, and it looks exactly the same, but it helps us know that you're one of his friends, and that's super helpful. So go here. You can sign up for an account. When you do, you'll actually log in, and you'll see a list or a place here where you can add in your properties. And so this is what the system looks like once you go in and you add a new property. And so adding a property is really easy. You just say add a property and tell us a little bit about that property. tell us about the address, give us a little picture, tell us if it's a single family home or some sort of, multi-unit building. And that's it. And then once you do that, you'll start to see these little cards appear with all the properties that you might have and that you build up. So if you're just getting started, Cozy is specifically designed to work for independent landlords or self-managers who have anywhere from 1 to 20 units. But in fact, we do have customers who have 300 and 400 or 500 units, and they're using Cozy and they're not having to pay for it, which is awesome. But it's designed specifically for small asset landlords like you and me. So it works really great. I can see all my properties here. And let's just walk through it. Let's say you buy your first property. You follow what Dustin's saying. You're getting you find a mortgage or the funding, and you go and you buy it and you close. And you're like, awesome. You start renovating, and at the same time you're taking pictures, and you're thinking, oh man, I got to get tenants, right? So you want to create a listing. That's the first step. And so it's super easy. After you add a property, it'll just walk you through different steps. For example, I've got one set up here, but let's go ahead and edit it so I can show you exactly what it looks like. There's different steps in here, and it's as simple as like, tell us about the house, tell us about what you want to say about the house, and then you walk through these little different cards. And pardon me if it's a little slow. Sometimes when the video is on, the bandwidth is less. But you walk through the details, tell us about your lease, and then you add in all kinds of pictures or videos or YouTube videos that you might have uploaded about the property, and then tell us if you want to screen those applicants who want to apply, if you want to screen them with background checks or credit reports. So let's see what's going on here. Oh, let's go here. That's funny. The anonymous text is saying it's too long. So we're going to skip over that part. But let me show you what a finalized listing looks like. So here's an example. This is mobile accessible as well. So most tenants actually look at these on their phones. But you have a big banner image, which you can pick whatever you want. Tenants can cycle through the pictures. And then as they scroll down, they'll see what the price is, where the location is, all the information you added, and then any sort of text that you might have written for that, any sort of features it has. And then, if this was not an anonymized address, it would actually show you the exact location on a map and why it's okay to apply with Cozy. What the safety measures we take for them as they apply. But if they do want to apply, they'll have a little link here or a little form where they fill out where it gets the process started. And it's super easy. They just have to fill out a basic application. And then if you require credit reports and background checks, they will be required to ID verify and answer some security questions. And then voila, we'll get their credit report and background check. Now, the nice part is that credit report and background check is super secure. So they actually get a copy of both of those at the same time you do. And you don't ever have to be exposed to the sensitive information that they might have. And you could never be accused of stealing their identity because we keep you safe as well. So let's just look at some. So I have here my list, my little inbox of applications, and I've got a few here. So let's go ahead and pull open this one. This is a property that has about 6 bedrooms in it. I believe if you've listened to the last podcast I did with Dustin, I've got a house on Capitol Hill that has 6 bedrooms, and this is an anonymized version of that. So here's an example where all these ladies went in and said they're all going to rent this place together, and so they're all under one lease, and they've all applied, and Cozy very easily put everything together, like took all their applications and put it together, and it gives you this beautiful little chart. So you have income versus rent, and it tells you, hey, guess what? The rent's almost $5,400, and together their monthly gross combined income is about $24,000, which is 4.5 times the monthly rent amount. Now, if you're following best practices, you typically want their total household income to be about 3 times the monthly rent amount. And that's just so they can afford it, right? So the debt to income ratio is like, around 33% or so. And it tells you also that it requires 22% of their total income. But then it goes on and tells me each of the tenants and exactly what they reported as income. So you can see here that Kiara didn't report any income, and it's because Kiara is a student. She doesn't have a job, but all the other ones make up for it. So it's okay. So these people actually ended up getting the place, and I was happy to rent for them. But if I wanted to dive in deep, and I do recommend that you do, you can click on their profile and it'll tell you all about, well, their application, what they've entered in, who their employer is, how to contact their employer, who their past landlords are, and how to contact them. And then it will give you references. It'll give you basic information too about bankruptcies, evictions, emergency contacts, etc. And if you purchase credit reports, or if they purchased it on your behalf, then you will also get to see those. So let's log in real quick here. And here's an example of some actual credit reports. Let me make them a little smaller, or I'm sorry, background checks. And so here's an example of a clean background check for Mr. Brian Buster Bluth. And you can see everything is clear. Came back, there's nothing here. We did a social security trace, a civil search, a sex offender search, a global terrorist watch list, and a national criminal search. But if you scroll over and get this perhaps, which is George Michael Bluth, which if you're ever, if you're a fan of Arrested Development, you'll know exactly what's going on here. But George Michael Bluth, came back with a civil search that you might want to look at, a national criminal search for maybe burning down a banana stand, and then a county search as well in California. And so you can see here's the information, here's what's going on here, and it tells you more about it. And the best part is the tenant sees this as well. So they get a copy of this too. And oftentimes when I've had tenants who have issues with their background check, they don't admit it right away. But as soon as it comes back, like they're on the phone calling me and saying, like, oh yeah, I forgot about that eviction, 2 months ago. Please don't reject me. And so it's kind of like a truth serum. It makes them honest. In addition to the background check, you can get a credit report check, and it's one of the most easy to read, pretty credit reports I've ever seen. And we did look at a lot before we designed this, but we wanted to make it super easy to understand. And what you'll get in a credit report for Miss Sarah Patterson is that you'll see here, she's got a credit profile, credit score, and then where she sits in the entire United States in terms of her percentage. And it goes into telling you how much credit she's used out of her available credit, what her total monthly payments are. And then my favorite part, and tell me, Dustin, if this is something you do as well, but my favorite part about learning about the credit report is finding out how much debt they have and what type of debt it is.
Absolutely.
So in this case, Sarah Patterson has about $138,000 probably on a HELOC, I'm guessing, some sort of credit line. And she's got, $20,000 auto loan, $12,000 on a credit card. And so in this case, I would probably accept someone with $200,000 in mortgage debt, almost all mortgage debt, over someone with like $20,000 in a Gap store credit card. That's just a totally different beast. So it's important to know what that type of money is, because if you just know that she has $200,000 in debt and you don't know where it's coming from, then you might be scared. You might reject her, but she could be awesome. But then it'll tell you about if, her payment history, if you have ever been late, and then it'll go through trade lines for each account that she has, which is awesome. It goes through a 2-year history, and you can see if she's ever paid late for, the last 2 years on anything. And then it'll go through past inquiries of where she's maybe applied also at other properties, or where she's lived, which you want to match that up to where they say they've lived, in case they're trying to skip over a former landlord. And then even employment as well. So this credit report is exhaustive, and it really does go through all the details that you would need to know, which for me is just really comforting as a landlord.
Absolutely. And I want to say that this report, and you said it just a couple seconds ago, is very clean. I've seen so many reports that they're hard to understand because it's either not formatted well, or things are in different places than they should, or it's all jumbled together. This looks very, very clean, and it's very easy to understand, this credit report.
Yeah, thanks. And, we worked hard on it because the majority of the credit reports out there still look like a fax machine.
They do.
From like 1972. So this is certainly just easier to read, and you can save this as a PDF if you want, or print it out, and you can take this and do whatever you want with it. All right, moving on. So let's say you like these people and you say, okay, these are the tenants that I want to rent to. Well, it's as simple as clicking this button. You can say, I want to start collecting rent from these people. And what that'll do is it'll ask you to go ahead and set up a lease with them, or what we're calling a lease. And in that, I'll show you what it looks like when it's finished. Let's go here. This is a different property, but same thing. Okay, great. So here under the rent details, what it'll ask you when you say, I want to rent to these people, it'll ask you, okay, what are the lease dates, in there, so we know exactly how to frame the payments. It'll ask me who those tenants are, but we'll know that if you click that button. And then it'll ask you what the rent amount is and when it's due, and then what kind of late fee that you might be charging on your lease, which in our case, we actually do an automatic late fee here in Cozy. So if you say, hey, there's no grace period in this case, and the fee is $187. So on the second of the month, if Fred's doing the first, on the second, Cozy will automatically put a charge or a bill on this ledger saying that it's $187 and they've got to pay it, which is kind of cool because it makes Cozy into the bad guy rather than you being the bad guy, and it'll enforce your rules for you. If there's any sort of move-in costs like immediate pet fees or elevator fees or parking fees or prorated rent, you can add that in here. Super easy, and they can just pay it right when they set up. And then you can actually say, where do you want this money to go to? So what's really cool about Cozy is it will automatically just send that money to whatever bank account you want it to go to. And if you have a different account for security deposits, which many of us do, it will send the security deposit to a different account so that you don't ever commingle funds. And that's oftentimes a state law that you don't commingle funds. So we make that really easy. Then you can upload documents, and these are all, again, anonymized links, but these can be PDFs or Word docs or whatever you have that you can upload, and then it'll just share with them. So they won't ever have to ask you like, hey, where's my lease? Can you send it to me again for the fourth time? And it can just be right there. And then also you can ask them, or you can require in Cozy for them to buy renter's insurance, and they can either just buy it right through Cozy, or they can just upload a copy of their existing policy, and it makes it super easy. But moving on to the most important part here, you've got great tenants. You've now set up a system in Cozy. Now they have to pay rent, right? So after you set that up, Cozy will email your tenants and say, hey, congratulations, let's get you set up with online rent payments. And it will walk each one of them through the process of connecting a bank account or adding a credit card or debit card. And then it will say, hey, listen, you've got, $3,700 due on the first of the month every month. How much of this do you want to pay? And it will coordinate that between all the roommates. And so it challenges them and ensures that they all add it up and make sure that it's the right amount and that they can pay their portion. So in this case here, I've got 5 roommates, and you can see rent's due on the first, and each one of them pays about $880 or $660 to contribute towards that total amount. Now, the neat thing about this is that this is the ledger. These are in progress or upcoming payments that they can all see this too. So these various different tenants can see that, maybe Willa hasn't scheduled their payment, or maybe it's the wrong amount, and then keep each other accountable so that they don't get that late fee. But then also, as they process payments, you can see here, like Austin's payment, I can see that it's for rent. It came out, it was under auto pay. It came out of their account on the first, and then got deposited on the second. And then it was a card payment, and it went to my Bank of America checking account. So that was pretty cool. And then here is even the transaction ID that connects the dots. So if you want to reconcile your bank statement, you can use this ID to make that super easy. But in addition to tracking everything, you can even see here's an example of a failed payment that the card was declined. And so what he did is he just went ahead and did another payment with a different source. You can see here, he did it through a different card. So it just makes it real easy to deal with issues before they come up. Let's just say I wanted to record an offline payment. Let's say Austin decided to come to my house and drop off a check. I could say I want to record an offline payment here and say this is Austin's rent check and it's $880, and he gave it to me on the first, and I'd say, okay, good. And then it gets just documented against the total ledger amount. I can also add in bills like water bills, utility bills, any other bill that might, pet fees or something that might come in, I can just add that in here and it gets added to the account and they can just pay it just like they would their rent. I can also add credits. So if you want to pay them or reimburse them for paint, or maybe they went ahead and bought something for the property and you want to give them their money back, you can do that. Or maybe you want to give them $200 off rent because the power went out or something, you can do that. And because you can just add a credit and then they can apply that towards their next rent payment. So that is the three big things that Cozy does. We also do maintenance and expense tracking, which I'd also love to show you, but I want to check in on time. So those three things that I mentioned, the listings, the applications, the credit reports, background checks, and rent collection, that's all free. Like that is all free. So how are we doing on time, Dustin?
That's fantastic. Yeah, you're right. What blows me away again, it's all free. So the maintenance and expenses, very quickly, you could just basically enter everything in. Now with maintenance, right, you can have the tenants submit a new maintenance request, right?
Yeah. Yep, for sure. So that's actually how most of my maintenance tickets come in. So my tenant opens up their phone, they open up Cozy on their phone and they take a picture of the hole in the wall or the dripping sink, and they can even upload a video straight from their phone. And then I can see all that and I can have a discussion with them. So let's take this one, for example. No, that doesn't have more than one. And these are, again, anonymized, so it's not as useful. But, if I had a threaded discussion here, you can see a bunch of, these are 3 comments, and I can have all the tenants will see the same thing and they'll get notified whenever there's a new discussion posted, and everyone will chime in, which is pretty cool because then I can say, hey, the plumber's coming out on Friday at 2, and I can just add it into Cozy and it will communicate that to all of the tenants at once. And there you go. There's your proper notice. So it makes it really easy. As for expenses here, I can track expenses. And for me, what this looks like is, I go to Home Depot, I buy a new doorknob or some paint, and I walk out to my car. And while I'm sitting in the parking lot, I pull out my phone, take a picture of the receipt, with Cozy open, and record a little bit of information like Home Depot and the price, and it will just document it here. And then I can actually go and throw that away. I can get rid of that receipt if I want to because it's inside Cozy. And you can actually see here, like this example, Andy's Lawn and Landscape. Here's the actual receipt that I got from them. So it's in there. I can open it up. I can see it and get that information. So here, the most important thing about expenses is not necessarily tracking them or getting them in, it's getting them out. So at the end of the year, when you're trying to do your taxes, we help you print out this expense summary, which then has these categories that are the exact categories that you need to know on your Schedule E tax return. So if you've never done a Schedule E, that is the form that the IRS requires you to fill out properly for your rental properties. And they're going to ask you, how much did you spend on advertising? And you need to have that total number. And how much did you spend on cleaning and maintenance? So these are the categories plus the total. And you'll just have it right here. And in addition to this, we'll give you the detailed spreadsheet so you can see every single line item and every detail about it. But this summary is generally what your accountant is going to want to see. So we just make it easy.
That's great. And so you could basically just export that, give it to your accountant, and you will be set. They'll be able to take that property or every property, export all those, submit it to them, and they'll be able to run with your tax return.
Yep, they will thank you. I mean, you will be their favorite customer.
Absolutely. Well, great. Is there anything else that we should see?
We have other things like renter's insurance, for example. So I don't have that up here in the demo site, but essentially, if you require renter's insurance, and that's a per lease decision. If you require that in your lease, Cozy will ask them, hey, you need to do this? You need to show proof of renter's insurance, oftentimes before you move in. And we will, we already have all their information, so we'll help them buy it through a company called Assurant. And the nice thing about that is if they buy it through Cozy, then we will actually check on a nightly basis whether that account is still active. So if you've ever had tenants before, you've probably come into this situation where a tenant will go and buy renter's insurance and then move into the house, and then the next day they'll go and cancel their renter's insurance policy because they don't want to pay for it. and you'll never know. You will never know until the next year when you say, I need to see proof of it again, and then they'll go get it for another 2 days. So this way, on a nightly basis, we'll check, and if they don't have it, if they cancel it, you'll be the first to know, which is pretty awesome.
That is terrific. Yeah, I've actually had my tenants apply and get renter's insurance through Cozy. It works out great. I don't have to do anything. It just gets all set up and they take care of it. And then, like you said, I will be notified if anything does change.
Yeah, for sure. What else can I answer for you?
Yeah. So I know that you said that, Cozy's definitely growing, or at least you guys are continuing to produce and make sure that the software is up to date, that you guys are continually working on it. So how about support, as well as where do you think is there any new features or something like what's the roadmap for this year? So support and the roadmap.
Yeah, so support is super easy. So we actually have down in this, if you can see it on the bottom right-hand corner of the screen, on every page, there's a little help button, and we can actually, start answering questions for you. So if you say, I need help with payments, these will take you to actual Cozy help guides, which they'll give you the answer right there. But if you wanted to actually explore it in detail, we also have a link to that, which goes to helpdocs.cozy.co. And you'll see here that you can look at things not only from a landlord's perspective, but also for renters, which kind of comes in handy because you can point things to the tenants and say, hey, read this guide. If you're confused, here's exactly what you need to know. And so we have hundreds of articles here that you can read. But if you want to contact support, we actually have a help desk support team that is there 7 days a week. And typically they get back to you within about an hour or two if it's working hours. So we realize how urgent payments are, and we want to make sure that we answer your questions very quickly. So
that is fantastic turnaround time on a support question, especially when you're not even paying any money. So
right.
that is amazing.
Right. Thank you. And so future stuff here with Cozy is that in addition to the support, this is great. We are continually developing things. So I mentioned earlier, where's that thing go? Oh, maybe it's right there. I gotcha. Okay, so as we've released things, for example, in early 2018, we released maintenance and expense tracking, and it just showed up one day. Like we were working on it for months, and then magically overnight, for all our customers, it's like, voila! Now you can track expenses and maintenance tracking, and you can get these beautiful reports. And it's always a great feeling when we release something because we've tested it like crazy. And then when it goes out, we usually get all of these love letters, and the people send us pizza at the office, and they're just like so grateful that we've done these things. So I can't reveal too much about the next features, but we've got 3 huge things in the hopper lined up for this next year, mainly around leases and document signing, and even about making it super easy for your tenants, for you to find tenants in Cozy using maps and other really cool features that we don't already have. So these are things that you probably pay for already. Like I know for me, document signing is something that I pay a monthly fee for. Yeah. But imagine if you could get that in Cozy and it would be free. Like that's another thing that you could drop and then essentially save money.
That's fantastic. Well, Lucas, thank you so much. This has been very, very informative, and hopefully all my students are going to be looking at this and say, this is such a great benefit, especially since it's free and it gives such a great help for us as landlords in general. And so as Lucas said, and thank you very much for pointing it out. So if you go to cozy.co/Dustin, it'll put you in as one of my students. And so it'll help me out for tracking, as well as I get a little bit of affiliate. I send you over to them, and they track you, and I get a little bit of a kickback. Nothing costs to you at all. Obviously, we've already said that many, many times, but it helps me out a little bit. But hey, you guys, terrific software. If anything, even if you don't even use that link, just go and use Cozy. You're going to love it. It's fantastic. So, hey, Lucas, thanks again so much for being a part of this demo and showing us Cozy and how amazing it is. And so I really appreciate your time. And so hopefully all my students will be able to see the benefit and how great it is. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Dustin, for having me. I appreciate it.
All right, man. Take care.
You too.